Hi, Ben with Novolux Stereophonic. After repairing thousands of vintage receivers and amplifiers over the years, I've identified one common cause that's behind many of the most expensive failures. Today, I'm going to show you what it is, along with a simple modification that you can do to help extend the life of your vintage gear and hopefully keep it out of the repair shop for just a little bit longer. Here's a regulated power supply board that I pulled out of a Pioneer SX1250, one of the most sought after and respected receivers from the Power Wars. If we take a close look at the capacitors here, we can see that the wrappers have shrunken down, exposing the tops. The transistors look stressed, the thermal compound is turning to powder, and if we take a close look at the back, we'll see that a lot of the solder joints are severely fatigued. So what causes all of this? Well, it's heat. This board runs hot out of necessity. Its job is to take the raw unregulated DC voltage from the rectifiers, lower them to the levels that the various circuits need to operate, and make them stable and hum-free. This process by nature generates heat. And it doesn't matter whether you're listening at 1 watt or 160 watts. This board runs hot even at idle. So let's take a closer look at the negative effects of heat over long periods of time. Let's start out with the most obvious victim, capacitors. And this board's a good example because we can see the heat exposure clear as day because of the shrunken wrappers. And what I've found is that the smaller the capacitor is and the closer it is to a heat source, the higher the likelihood of failure. This is the Peak ESR70. This is a great in-circuit capacitor tester. Let's test out that little cap. Yeah, definitely bad. Now, ironically, the big ones with the shrunken wrappers will probably still test okay. They're just so much larger, so they hold up a little bit better. So let's test a couple of those. That's showing okay. It's a 220 microfarad cap, so that's still within spec. Let's check the other one. Yeah, good as well. So the capacitors that are the smallest, that are closest to the heat sources, are the ones that are going to go first. What about transistors? Aren't they supposed to last indefinitely? Well, to a certain degree, assuming they're kept within a safe operating area. And I'm sure when Pioneer designed this board, their engineers crunched the numbers. You can see this transistor doesn't have a heatsink. This one is on its own kind of small heatsink. And then these ones are on a much larger piece of aluminum. So they were obviously thinking about heat dissipation and likely designed this well within the safe operating area of these devices. But they didn't expect these units to be running 40, 50 years in the future. If we take a close look at the solder on this board, any of these joints where you can see a little ring, that is a fatigued joint that's gone through a lot of intense temperature fluctuations. And although most of these probably still work, every one of those rings is a potential failure point. Some boards run so hot that the joints will actually approach the melting point, and I've even seen it where resistors will desolder themselves and fall out of the board, especially on Sansui. Heat can also cause damage to circuit boards and traces. This is an example where a component on the other side of the board has caused excessive heat, and then when you go to repair and rework the parts, the traces lift off the board extremely easily. And this is a little bit hard to address and will always add extra time to a service or restoration. Other victims of long-term heat exposure in vintage audio electronics include plastic parts. You'll have standoffs, for example, on boards. When they're exposed to high heat, they become brittle. Then when you go to pull that board, instead of it coming off the standoffs themselves snap in half. Back to the SX1250, this regulated power supply board is really the heart of the unit. It supplies the voltages for the tuner, phonostage, preamp, and power amplifier. And if one of these voltages suddenly goes down due to a component being damaged by heat, it could potentially lead to a cascade failure further down the line. So how do we address this type of heat-related damage? Well, restoration is a good place to start because it offers a reset on the parts. When I rebuild these vintage units, I try to upgrade the capacitors from 85C to 105C, use beefier transistors for the pass elements, refresh the thermal compound. I even try to increase the heatsink real estate when that's viable. But at the end of the day, this is still the same circuit, the same design. So even though it has all new parts, it still may end up having those same issues in the future. This is where active cooling becomes beneficial. Most of these vintage units rely on convection for cooling, meaning the hot air that's produced inside naturally rises through the openings in the top cover, and that air is replaced with new cool air that enters through the holes in the bottom cover. But obviously that's not adequate to prevent damage from long-term heat exposure. Adding a fan is a great way to reduce thermal stress inside of a unit, but fans can be loud, and who wants the extra hassle of turning on and off one more device every time you want to listen to music? I've come up with a solution that's really easy to implement, and you can do it on basically any receiver or integrated amplifier. We're going to be using an ultra quiet 12-volt PC fan, but we're only going to run it at 9 volts, so it's even quieter. Almost all of these vintage devices are going to have something called a switched outlet, and we can use this to our advantage. This is a super basic 9-volt switch mode power supply. We're just going to plug it into the switched outlet on the back of this SX850 and use this to power our fans. Let's just start out with one fan. I'm going to take the power supply and plug it into this fan to power supply adapter cable. This one happens to have a switch, but you don't need this because we're using the switched outlet. I'm just using this for an example. And then we just grab our PC fan, and this is keyed, so we just plug it in like that. And the beauty of this is all we have to do is turn on the power switch. If you'd like to apply this modification yourself, you can head down to the description and I'll have affiliate links available for all of these products. Standing right next to the fan, I can barely hear it. If I step back to the listening position, I doubt I'd be able to hear it at all. The direction of flow on this particular fan is this way. So the air is sucking in here and blowing out this way. Now, the situation that makes sense to me is just to put it like this and have the air suck through the bottom vents through the unit. Now, what that is going to do is basically just supercharge the convection. It's going to pull cool air across all of the components, and it should work well. But I did an experiment with my dummy load project where viewers asked me to flip the fan direction, and blowing cool air onto the dummy load drastically reduced its cool down time. So I really don't have a problem with putting cool air down into the unit as well. And the nice thing about these fans is they have magnets in them. So this actually clicks down onto the cover and sits there pretty nice. It's a little quieter in this configuration as well. And if I put my hand over here, I can feel air flowing through these vents. So it is going through there and kind of circulating through the unit. Now, how do you determine where to place a fan like this? On the SX850, the power supply is actually located upside down on the bottom of the chassis. So the best we can hope for is to pull air through the unit. So in this case, it may be better to arrange the fan like this. We're going to lose the magnetic lock, but it's probably the best case for this specific unit. On an SX1250, the power supply lives just to the right of the power transformer. So that's where I'd place it on an SX1250. So you kind of just need to use your judgment. Now, if you've got a unit that has more than one hot location, maybe you have a heat sink on either side of the unit that you want to keep cool, it's really easy to do 2 fans instead of 1. So let me show you that. Let's add a second fan here. And this is super simple. It's just power supply to 2 fans. So let's plug in both of our fans. And then plug the other end into the power supply. Power on. Now this is going to be slightly louder because we're dealing with 2 fans, but you could always experiment with the power supply, maybe lowering the voltage. You can play around with the placement. One thing that might be interesting here is to have 1 fan facing down and 1 fan facing up. And this, let's see, let's sit like this. And this might end up creating a circulation like this. So there's all kinds of things that you can do to experiment with this for your specific unit. Now what about the wiring? Let's try to clean this up a little bit. I'm just going to use some zip ties to see if I can tidy this up. If you're starting to repair your own vintage audio gear, but you're looking for a more hands-on way to learn, you might like my Patreon page. Head down to the description to learn more. It's not the prettiest thing, but that at least keeps the wires out of the way. And one more thing to consider. This is a switch mode power supply, meaning it's going to generate some noise. If you do this modification and you notice that your tuner is losing performance, or maybe your phono stage has some weird noises it didn't before, unplug this and see if it's causing that noise. Your solution could potentially be plugging a extension cord into the switched outlet and just get this a little bit further away from the unit. Another potential hang-up with this method I was thinking about is, could it affect the temperature stability of a power amplifier section? So right now I'm looking at the DC offset of the right channel of this amplifier. Let's put these fans right above the power amp and see what happens. So it started changing the DC voltage almost immediately. But the thing is, when you're dealing with DC offset, it's usually a differential pair. And if it's tightly coupled, as long as your temperature is steady, it should be okay. So let's just let this run for a little bit and see if the DC offset stabilizes. So it looks like it's stabilized around 3 millivolts DC. Let's take the fans away and see if it goes back up. Yeah, it definitely changes, but I think as long as we have thermal equilibrium, once the system all comes up to temperature and the air is circulating and everything has stabilized inside of the unit, I think it's going to be just fine. Whether your piece of vintage hi-fi is all original or it's already been fully restored, it may be worth considering adding a fan. Just remember to take into account the potential noise from a switch mode power supply, especially if you're going to be using the switched outlet on the rear of the unit. It's also important to take some time to research your specific model to figure out where the main heat concerns are so that you can end up with the optimal fan placement. Affiliate links for all of these products are available down in the description. Now, if you found value in this video, I think you're really going to like the next one.